try my best. Go. Hey, here we go. Let's get started. So, first and foremost, what's the top question say? What does it say? First fill in the blank.
What is a fraction?
When is a... Shh, guys, hey. Relax.
Subscribe.
Woo.
Subscribe.
We are all wound up for a Monday.
No, I literally was so tired last time. Me too.
Alright, when is a fraction undefined? In other words, right? When do you punch in your calculator a fraction and it comes back and says error, or it's undefined?
Every time.
Zero over something.
When there's what?
Zero over a number.
Not zero over a number, but
Number over zero.
when there's a zero in your denominator, right? So when's a fraction undefined? When the denominator equals zero.
Zero
And then
divided.
we'll play it again.
When the denominator equals zero. Alright, that's a big no-no. Can't happen. Denominator cannot equal zero. Right, so if you look at this first one, y equals 2 over x. What number can x not be equal to? Zero. X cannot equal 0. That is what we call a restriction. Today we're going to be dealing a lot with restrictions. Throughout this unit we'll talk about restrictions. But that is a restriction on what one of our variables can be. Because if it is 0, then it is undefined. We said we can't have that. Right? So a restriction is anything that would make your denominator equal 0. So if you look at the second one, 3x minus 1 over 7x. What would our restriction be? What 0?
It's my name, so
Well, yeah, 0 in the denominator, but like
X equals 0.
x can't equal 0, right? Because remember, in certain problems later on today, we're going to deal with more than one variable, so you need to be specific. You can't just say 0. Right? We need to say x cannot equal 0. Because 7 times 0 would be 0. I would have a 0 in my denominator. What about the second one there? 7n over n minus 1.
yeah.
N cannot equal 1, right? 1 minus 1 would be 0. So n cannot equal 1.
You understand?
Good. What about this one? Y minus 1 over y plus 3.
Negative 3.
What about negative 3?
Can't equal
Y.
Y cannot equal negative 3. Hey guys, if you're just like looking at it, and you can't think about what that restriction might be, what could you do to find it?
Math.
Like, how did you get negative 3? You looked at it and you saw, well, I know negative 3 plus 3 equals 0, right? What if it's not that easy? What if it's like 3 over 3x plus 13? Set it equal to 0, right? You can take your denominator, whatever it might be. In this case, it was y plus 3. And set it equal to 0 and solve for y. That'll tell you what's going to make that piece equal 0. Right? If I subtract 3, I get y equals negative 3, so I know it can't equal negative 3. That would be my restriction. Alright, so that's how we can find that if they're a little more difficult. What about down here? C equals u over u plus 3 times 2u plus 7. What could my restrictions be?
Negative.
What can u not equal? Well, let's think about it. If I cover this side up, and I look at just u plus 3,
Negative 3.
if I set that equal to 0, subtract 3, negative 3 would make that equal 0, right?
Yep.
Yes.
But the
Can
other
I say that that's a restriction?
No.
Yes.
Some people are saying yes, some are saying no. Who says yes? Elijah, why do you say yes?
Because it would equal 0. But negative.
This would equal 0? Okay. Hey, that's super important. If this part equals 0, what happens to my whole denominator? It all equals 0 because I'm multiplying there. So yeah, so u cannot equal negative 3. That's one of my restrictions. Well, what if I covered this side up? I'm going to figure out what would make that part equal 0 because the same thing happens. Right? If I have 2u plus 7 equals 0,
This is easy.
I'm going to get another restriction, right? Subtract 7, 2u equals negative 7, and I divide by 2. I get u equals negative 3.5. So same thing. If u equals negative 3.5, this side's going to equal 0. And that makes my whole denominator equal 0 because I'm multiplying. Does that make sense? So also, u cannot equal negative 3.5. Yes, you need to list them both. You need to list all the restrictions that you can. So whenever you're faced with something like this, take each piece and set it equal to 0, and those are both restrictions. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Perfect sense. For how lively you were just 3 minutes ago. It's like pulling teeth right now. Okay.
You just figured it out.
Any questions?
I should be a teacher.
Nope.
Then I'm going to keep going.
Honestly, I should be a teacher.
Okay? So that's just talking about restrictions. Now let's add that in, and let's add in solving for a certain variable. So we may give you any equation out there. In this case today, a lot of them we're going to do are actually formulas. That won't be the case on like the homework and stuff. But it happens to be. We want to solve for one variable in terms of other variables. AKA, if I'm solving for x and my equation says ax plus b equals c. Well, I want to solve for x. So if I look at this equation, in other words, how can I get x all by itself on its own side?
Subtract B.
Let's subtract b to start. Good. Just like you would if we had numbers there. Do the same thing. Ax equals c minus b. Then I would divide by a. X equals c minus b over a. Good. So we're solving for a certain variable in terms of other variables. AKA, we have other variables in the equation with it. Well, I solved for x. Are there any restrictions in that problem? Yeah, what would they be?
A can't equal 0.
Good. A cannot equal 0, right? It's in the denominator. Can't have that. A cannot equal 0.
No,
That would be my restriction.
you just can't have 0 in the denominator.
Right?
Cool. Alright.
Okay. Second one, solve for f. S equals 3f plus 24. Well, how would I solve for f?
Subtract by 24.
Subtract 24 to start. S minus 24 equals 3f. Okay. Divide by 3. S minus 24 over 3 equals f. Okay, could you write it a different way?
Yeah, you could do it.
S over 3 is
S minus 8.
S over 3 minus 8 equals f. Right? Either one of these works. I'm not super picky about it. If you write that first way we found, I'm perfectly happy with that. If you want to split them up and reduce them, that's great as well. Good. Are there any restrictions?
No.
Why not? I have a denominator.
There's
Yeah, but there's no variable.
But what, Miss Wick?
There's no variable.
There's no variable, right? It's just a 3. Is there any way this 3 is magically going to change to 0?
Am I imagining?
No. Not unless there's a variable there. So, are there any restrictions?
9. Say 9.
No. None. Aren't any. Alright, does that make sense? Okay. Let's try with some formulas. Like I said, the next 4 that we do are going to be formulas. They won't all be like that on the homework. They'll just be normal equations given to you. Alright, what is the formula for an area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Or, guys, shh. Or 1/2 base times height. Do you prefer 1/2 base times height or base times height divided by 2?
The second one.
The second one?
Yes.
This one? Alright, how about this? How about I'll do it both ways up here because it's the exact same way to go about it. So I'll do one over here, 1/2 base times height. I'll do another one over here. Area equals base times height. I'll do both of them as we go. Alright, if I want to solve for the height, What's the first step I should take?
Get 2 out of the denominator.
Get 2 out of there, right? Multiply by 2 on both sides. Do the same thing here. Multiply by 2 to get rid of my 1/2. 2a equals base times height. Okay? Then how would I solve for h?
Divide by base.
Divide by base. Or divide by b. So 2a over b equals h. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, well then what would my restrictions be?
B cannot equal.
B cannot equal 0, right? I have a b in my denominator.
I knew.
Now, technically there are other restrictions to this. Like, if I'm talking about the base and the height, can I have negative numbers? No. If I'm talking about the area, can I ever have a negative number? No. We're not going to put those down. I really don't care about those. Those are like if you're actually doing the measurements and the formulas. In this case, our only restriction, b cannot equal 0. Alright? Cool?
It's very cool.
Alright?
Will be
Just let me
Cool beans.
circles.
Beans cool.
The ones.
Alright, what is the perimeter of a rectangle? What formula is that?
You add a lot.
I don't remember that.
2 width plus 2 length, right? You add up all 4 sides. Width plus length plus width plus length. 2w plus 2l.
He's covering it
Oh,
up.
yeah, that was
I'm tripping, cuz.
Right? Perimeter equals 2l plus 2w or 2w plus 2l. Either way works. So if I rewrite that, perimeter equals 2 length plus 2w. I want to solve for w. What did you say?
Subtract 2.
Subtract 2l. P minus 2l equals 2w. What, Bill? Divide by 2. P minus 2l over 2 equals w. Or you could write it as P over 2 minus L equals w. That's just if you split them up and simplify them. Either one works. I'm okay with either one. Alright, are there any restrictions for it?
No.
Why not?
variable in the denominator.
No variable in the denominator, so there's no restrictions. Now, once again, like length and width and perimeter have to be positive, but we're not worried about that. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
I think we have 2 more.
That's it?
No more.
That's it. Alright, candy question.
Candy question.
Pomeroy,
Me.
what's the formula for density?
Density equals mass divided by volume.
Mass divided by volume. Snickers?
You already took one.
You already took one.
Yeah.
Well, let me.
Stop snitching on my board.
Alright, so density equals mass divided by volume. I want to solve for volume. Yes, sir.
Can I answer it?
Yeah.
Alright, so multiply volume to both sides, so then you get d times v equals m, and then divide by b on both sides, so you get v equals m divided by d.
Perfect. So we're going to multiply by the volume on both sides so we get it out of the denominator. Right? We get v times d equals m. I multiply by v on both sides. Then to get it by itself on that left side, I'm going to divide by the density, or divide by d. I get v equals mass over density, or m over d.
D can't equal 0.
Alright, does that make sense?
Yes.
How we did that?
Yeah.
Alright,
C.
Understand?
any restrictions?
D can't
C
equal
can't
zero.
equal.
D cannot equal 0. There's actually one more restriction in this problem. Can anyone find it?
V can't equal 0.
V can't equal 0. Why can V not equal 0?
Start in the denominator.
It started out in our denominator, right? If we have 0 for a volume right here, our problem's gone, right? It's undefined, can't do it. So, not only, guys, are you looking at where it ends, but you need to look at that beginning part. You need to look at in the between. If I have something in that denominator, it could still be a restriction. Okay? So, both those are restrictions, you need to list them both. Alright, any questions? One more, another candy question. What is the formula for the area of a trapezoid?
Oh, you don't have
Is
it.
it 1 squared plus B1 plus B2?
Oh, wait.
If you think you have it, you can raise your hand and tell me.
Oh my god, I'm
Cernic, what do you got?
Is it 2 parentheses B1 plus B2 plus this?
No. You're on the right track, but that's not it. Hey, Abby, what do you got? No? No one?
Is
Wait,
it-
okay. What do you got?
Is it 1/2 times height times B1 plus B2?
Yes!
Oh,
I thought it was pi times radius.
1/2. Now, it's in a different order on the board, but that's perfectly fine. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height.
Can we put the base 1 plus base 2 times height over 2?
You could do that.
Correct, okay.
Yep. Alright, does everyone remember what a trapezoid looks like?
Absolutely not.
I said no first, so
Good job.
Did you guys take geometry last year? I love geometry.
Right? Base 1 plus base 2, we're averaging the bases, then times the height. So, if I wanted to solve that, area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. I'm going to multiply by 2 to get rid of that 1/2 on both sides. Times 2.
You're gonna lose.
I get 2a equals base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Right? I multiply by 2 to get rid of that 1/2.
Divide by height.
Okay? Then I should
Divide by height.
divide by the height, or divide by h. Okay? 2a over h equals base 1 plus base 2.
Oh.
And subtract base 2 because we're looking for base 1. Good. Now be very careful here. Base 2 does not go above the height. Right? It's just minus base 2 over here. Equals base 1. And then, do I have any restrictions there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
H can equal 0.
H cannot equal 0. Good. Now, like I said, guys, remember, not every problem on the homework, probably most of them won't be formulas. They'll just be normal, like equations given to you. Like, let's say we have. Hey guys, I want to look at this because there is one with a fraction on it. And I want to make sure that you know how to do it. Let's go with 2/3. Okay, how would I do something if I want to solve for y? I'm going to add 2/3 x. Good, Bill. Add 2/3 x to both sides. Right? I get 1/3 y equals 8 plus 2/3 x. Okay?
Would you multiply by?
And then we could multiply by 3 to get y by itself, right? We multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal, and you would just distribute 3 into both those pieces. Alright? Don't try and like multiply by 3 and then add 2x, because it's going to be a big mess. You need to multiply everything by 3 if you do it that way. It is feasible to do it that way, but it would just be easier to like add 2/3 x to begin with. Alright? Cool? Alright. Then, we are going to go through the test, and everybody take the test.